Most of us have had a locker at some point in our lives. Probably when we were in school. It held our things, our books, binders, folders, pictures of friends, magnets of great places we've been. Maybe it held something we were trying to hide from our parents or teachers. Probably held our clothes for football or basketball practice, or our script for play rehearsal, or our instrument for band practice, or any number of things that were ours. Our lockers gave us a sense of security and ownership. Most of us, anyways. Others, it proved to be a hot mess, where finding that one lost paper required us to drag everything out and go digging. But it was still ours. Maybe we shared the combination to our locker with a parent, or a best friend, or a boyfriend, or a girlfriend. But that meant something too. It meant, I trust you. What's mine is yours. This space is safe, and we can share it. The places we store our things, lockers or otherwise, are not only places. They're representations of who we are. Dump out one of our lockers when we were younger, and you could probably piece together a goal, an ambition, a hobby, a friendship, or a dream. But let's say, for the sake of metaphor, that there was no way into one of our lockers. No way to find out what was inside. Nobody had the key or combination. Nobody had the tools to break the lock. What would we be missing? What hobby would never be pursued? What friendship would never be made? What dream would remain in the dark? You see, lockers are only useful if they can be unlocked. If what is in the dark can be brought out into the light. Tonight, we're going to hear stories, real stories, about lockers that have been opened, in large part because people like you have determined to open them. These stories are sweet dreams coming true and futures that have been unlocked. Join us.
I'm a really good girl. You know, I study and I like school and I don't go to parties or hang out with the bad kids. My sister and I, we lived with my aunt for a while, but it wasn't going very well. She wasn't around much, but you know, it was okay though. I thought we could handle it, but we got removed anyway. You know, I've never been in foster care before. I mean, foster care, I don't know how this happened to me. You know, I thought maybe we'd be gone for a night or two, but then I realized this might be for a while. My sister and I were both at Safe Place for a couple days, and the little kids, they just kept coming and going. And I guess that's because parents like the little kids and they want to take the little kids home. But, you know, I bet those parents thought because I was a teenager in foster care, I must be pretty rough. But if they met me, though, they wouldn't think that. I would be such a good foster daughter to have. Anyway, so one day, this man named Mr. Darrell came, and he was really nice to us, and he wore this blue shirt, and it said 4 kids on it. And he told us that he had these nice homes with these parents who'd watch after us, but they only had room for one girl at the time, so he said my sister could go live there for a while, and then he'd come back for me really soon. I was okay with my sister going first. You know, I wanted her to be safe. And besides, I believed Mr. Darrell that he would come back for me, probably in just a few days. But then I had to go stay somewhere else, a group home with a lot of older girls. They were tough, and to be honest, they really scared me. They heard that I was a virgin, so they told me they were going to take me out to change that. I didn't want to, but I was nervous what would happen if I didn't listen. I prayed to God every night that these 4 kid people would come back for me and take me away with my sister. I cried myself to sleep every night for a few days, and those girls, they just kept bothering me to go out with them. And one day they came and told me that tonight was the night that I'd be going out with them. And you know, I didn't want to, but I was afraid what would happen if I didn't listen. So It was getting later, and I was getting more and more scared, and then all of a sudden, these two ladies showed up to see me. They came through the house, and I couldn't believe it, but they were calling my name. I was so surprised I could barely raise my hand. One of the ladies, Kyra, she came up to me and asked if I knew who she was, and she told me she worked with Mr. Darrell at 4Kids, and she was here to take me to Mercy Place where my sister lived. I couldn't believe how much I was crying. I told her that I'd prayed for this day, that I prayed that she'd come and take me away, and she did. God heard me. He listens to me. And I got a safe home, just in time.
My people kicked me out when I was 16. I was never in foster care, but maybe I should have been. Home was rough, and when they kicked me out, I didn't have anywhere I could go. I couldn't stay in school. How could I? When things got really bad, I remember there was some people who helped my older sister. She went to a place called SOSI, the Spirit of Success Institute. I didn't know if they would want me or if they would let me in, but they did. My mentors, Ken and Dee, they gave me a chance. They helped me get back in school. They helped me get a job. I finally had a place to live again. A great place too. A few months ago, someone gave Saucy a car, and Ken and Dee picked me to receive it. They told me I had earned it. I couldn't believe someone would be that generous to just give us a whole car, and I couldn't believe they will think of me to get it. Now I can get to school and work with no problems anymore. No more waiting in bus stops in the rain. This whole year has been unbelievable for me. Not only did I meet Ken and Dee and finally get around people who want what's best for me, but I finally get the feeling like my life was back on track. And I've never felt that. So this past Christmas, when Dee told SOSI guys and girls about Kids at Safe Place coming into foster care, I knew I wanted to do something to help them. Dee said that we would all go over and make pancakes and bacon on Christmas morning for the kids. We had a blast that morning. We talked and laughed, and before we knew it, the whole place smelled like bacon. Even though they weren't with their families, and it wasn't a normal Christmas for a lot of those kids, I think having all of us there made a difference for them. We understood, a lot of kids at SOSI, we can relate to these kids. We've been let down by our parents before, and some of us have been in foster care too. When I thought about all the blessings that I got this year, a home, a place to live, a job, a car, I couldn't help but think this was my chance to bless others with what could be a hard day for them. Because I have been there. I know what it's like to need a home and a place you belong. And I know pancakes and bacon are a really great start.
Our story started back in October. My husband and I heard about 4Kids from our church in Boca. We were moved by the presentation, and we decided to start the foster parent training classes immediately. It's amazing how quickly doors began opening. So we decided to start praying for a baby by Christmas time. We found out later on that the very day that we got licensed was the very day that our baby Rachel was born. I'll never forget that call. When it came, 4 kids told me that a baby had been born, and they asked me if I was willing to take her. I said yes immediately. I was so thrilled. But that's when things got complicated. They told me that Rachel had been born prematurely and that she was in the NICU. I remember calling the hospital to see if she was okay. The thought of her all alone in the NICU with no family, it was heartbreaking. The next day, our caseworker got permission for us to go see her in the NICU. The minute I found out, I was on my way there. I remember walking in, and the nurses turned and they smiled at me, and they said they were expecting me. Then they handed me the tiniest baby, and they said, "Here you go, Mom." Mom. I was Rachel's mom. And through the tears, I began to ask all these questions, like, is she okay? Does she have 10 fingers, 10 toes? Of course, they assured me she was fine. She was just small. It was all so overwhelming. But I knew whether I had her for 10 days or 10 months, that God's love would be imprinted on her heart. I got to the hospital that day, probably around noon. I don't think I left till well after midnight. I just sat there holding her and staring at her and singing to her. And as I sat in that NICU, I realized I wasn't just there for her. I was there for all the babies and families there too. This thing we call fostering, it's not just about us. It has the ability to touch countless lives. I saw that in the faces of the nurses that day when they handed me Rachel, and I see it every day in my community. You know, when all is said and done, we finally got to take Rachel home on Christmas Eve. She was our Christmas baby.
My mom always did her best. She just came up short. We got by until I was 17, and that was when I was removed from my home. At 17 years old, I was placed in the foster care system for the first time. I could feel my future unraveling, but I just felt that I could change it somehow. So I applied for universities, for scholarships, for various programs, and then I got accepted in a university on a track scholarship, just as I was about to age out of the foster care system. I could not have enjoyed college more. I worked so hard to keep my scholarships, and I even had the chance to participate in a study abroad program. I excelled in my major, and after 4 years, I had my bachelor's degree. But after 4 years, after college, though, was when things got really challenging. I couldn't find a stable job, and all my friends seemed to have their mom and their dad and a home to lean on after graduation. I was on my own. I was sleeping on friends' couches, trying to find a place to settle, trying to make things work, when I found out I was pregnant. You see, my home life growing up wasn't the best, but I just felt like I needed to be around family. And all my friends seemed to have their family. I had a sister in South Florida. I didn't really know her well, but she told me that I can come stay with her until I could get back on my feet. But then I thought to myself, how did I get to this place? In a strange city, sleeping on people's couch, pregnant without a job. I knew I needed help, but I figured there is no way that I could be a mom. And I didn't even know what a good mom looks like. I didn't believe in myself. But then I found his caring place, and it started to feel like I had options. So I moved into the aftercare home, and suddenly there were all these people around me supporting me. They helped me learn what I needed to do to get ready to be a mom. And then when the baby came, how to swaddle him in the blanket, how to make an appointment at a pediatrician for him, and how to make baby food. I know these things sound so simple and so basic, but I didn't know what to do with a baby, and I definitely didn't know how to run a home. And then after I had my baby, I was so overwhelmed. But then my house mom, Miss Andrea, she prayed with me every day, and I found a lot of comfort in that. Then last year, I found a job that I really loved. The owners, they recently approached me and told me that they'd love to cover my tuition to earn a master's degree. They told me that they were so impressed with me that they wanted to see me grow. I feel like I'm able to dream again about my future. His caring place, they showed me that I could do it. They showed me and they taught me about stability and community. They showed me how to love my son. They became my family.
My dad never really liked me that much. Sometimes I got in his way. Sometimes I got hurt. There was this one night, though, I had to go to the hospital. I don't really remember much, except the police were there. They picked up my older brother and my young sister, too. It was late when we left the hospital in the police car. I was tired and my head still hurt really bad. We got to a place where we could stay. They said it was called Safe Place. It looked nice and all, but as soon as we got there, my brother and sister had to leave. I was so mad my brother couldn't stay with me. He tried to hug me and tell me everything would be okay, but I didn't feel like everything would be okay. He grabbed my shoulder and told me, "You have to hug me." That's when I knew we were finally saying goodbye. We were getting split up. After that, I didn't really feel like talking to anybody. The people at Safe Place were nice to me, but I couldn't sleep. One of them was named Ashley, and she came and sat down next to me. I thought she was going to ask how I was feeling, but I didn't want to think about that. But she didn't. She asked me if I like sea turtles. I told her I love sea turtles. She asked me questions about them, like what they eat, how they live, and where you can find them. I knew all the answers. We talked about sea turtles for a really long time until I finally felt sleepy. I told Ashley I was ready to go to sleep, but only if she would be there in the morning. She looked sad. She told me there would be another lady in the morning, but
This is Samantha. She's 4 years old and has already lived in 3 different foster homes. When she was 2 years old, she was removed from her house with broken bones from the violence she endured. In her little life, she has never known a stable, permanent home. Her support worker, Carrie Clore, is on the phone now trying to find her a foster family. Samantha's daycare told Carrie Clore that she would cry and ask for mommy, but that she didn't know who mommy was. Whenever she gets to visit her, Carrie Clore tells Samantha how special she is and how much Jesus loves her. But it's not enough. She needs a mommy and daddy to tell her those things, not a support worker. She needs a sense of security. She needs to know that she will be fed and clothed and loved and kept safe. Samantha's dream can't be unlocked until her basic needs are met, until she belongs somewhere, until she belongs to someone. This is where we all come in. This is where we decide to believe that every child's dream deserves to be unlocked. And after the stories tonight, we must believe. True belief, however, leads to action, to ownership, to seeing the plight of our city and the kids here as our mission, to understanding that they are not broken or damaged forever, to believing that they can and will dream again, but they need someone to break the lock and show them the way. Will you join us?